Science fiction. What pops up in your head when you hear these two words? Chances are that it's pictures of futuristic civilizations with highly advanced technology, or maybe laser beams and starships with larger than life characters. Well, sure, all these are part of almost all things sci fi, but science fiction is not limited to just that. It's so much more. Octavia Butler, the late great author and recipient of the MacArthur Fellowship, when asked why she began writing sci fi stories by Charlie Rose, she famously said, "Because there are no closed doors, no walls," she told him. "The only rule is if you use science, you should use it accurately. You can look at, examine, play with anything, absolutely anything." Butler, a black woman from Southern California who withstood many humiliating low wage jobs while discovering her writing identity, found that reading and writing science fiction helped her to confront racism and sexism. Butler worked in a genre long dominated by exotic dystopias and Martian vistas, imagined and headlined by white male creators. Yet, she recognized immense power with science fiction's constraints. She used that power to imagine pasts and future where women of color moved from the margins to the center of the narrative universe. It served as a conduit for her feelings of belonging by allowing her to envision and construct new worlds on paper. And that is just one of the many other examples where readers and writers alike have found solace and self actualization in science fiction. The English sci-fi writer Sir Arthur C. Clarke once said, quote, "Science fiction is not about predicting the future, it's about preventing and inventing the future," unquote. And I think it's predominantly about that, prevention, not prediction. But science fiction has no widely agreed upon definition. It frequently explores universes that diverge from our own as a result of unprecedented technological advancements, new scientific discoveries, or novel societal structures. It then examines the effects of these modifications. More than that, it can be the beacon of thought and observation about issues in politics, sociology, philosophy, and science, of course, as well as any problem concerning the future or lack thereof. In simple words, the core idea behind sci fi is what if? What if the human race migrated to another world? What if artificial intelligence took over? What if aliens visit us today? And other such mind boggling questions. These notions, though fictitious in the present, may as well become reality in the future, and it's something that can change the entire course of the human race. As far as I can remember, my first brush with science fiction was from movies and not books particularly. I remember watching The Terminator for the first time with my dad on our CRT screen television. I might have been around 10 years old. It had a pretty strong impact on me, and I was completely fascinated. And lucky me that my dad is a huge Hollywood blockbusters fan. He showed me a lot of the classic sci-fi and superhero movies from the 90s. From then on, I've watched hundreds of films, and I'm still a sucker for a good old sci-fi flick. However, as I developed my fondness for reading, I have come across many wonderful books in the genre, from the classics to the modern indies. And though there's a mountain of books still waiting for me to be read, I want to share a few recommendations that are considered by many to be the most influential in paving the way for modern science fiction. The concepts of planets moving in ellipses was first demonstrated by Johannes Kepler, who also determined the relative distances of the planets from the Sun and the velocities of their orbits. Following his findings, Kepler penned the book Somnium, which is Latin for the dream. Lunar demons who can travel to Earth during solar eclipses are used in Somnium to take an astronomer student to the moon. Kepler explains the effect of gravity and what the Earth might appear like from the moon. In Gulliver's Travels, philosophical issues related to politics, morality, and the boundaries of human knowledge are discussed. The protagonist meets a race of little people, a race of giants, talking animals, flying islands, and other creatures on his journey. What happens when man plays God? One of the pioneers of the sci fi world, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is a seminal work of Gothic fiction and is unparalleled to this day. The adverse impacts of unconstrained technological developments were tackled by Mary Shelley. In contrast to The Last Man, which is set in the late 21st century after a plague has killed the majority of humanity, Frankenstein investigates the implications of creating life and man's desire for grandeur. Jules Verne wrote science-based adventure novels. To show how his ideas might become reality in the future, he provided a lot of specifics. Verne's books include 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which chronicles the exploits of a marine researcher in a submarine, and From the Earth to the Moon, which details how three men construct and launch a rocket to the moon. A Journey to the Center of the Earth and Around the World in 80 Days are other works by Verne. Science fiction was frequently utilized by H.G. Wells to satirize civilization. The narrator of the time machine goes into the future and discovers that humans have split into two species, the ferocious Morlocks and the childlike Eloi. He speculates that the Morlocks and Eloi may have descended from the working class and the upper class respectively, and that both groups have lost a significant portion of what made them human. The Island of Dr. Moreau, The War of the Worlds, and The Invisible Man are his other significant works. In the dystopian society depicted in Brave New World, social conditioning and reproductive technology play a large role in determining much of an individual's identity before they are even born. In his other book called Island, Aldous Huxley later explored the idea of creating a utopia. In 1984, George Orwell paints a picture of a totalitarian government that criminalizes individualism and rules by censoring information. The character of Big Brother and the ruthless regimes of his governing body are strikingly similar to some parts of the present-day world. It is a timeless masterpiece that is as relevant today as it was back when it was first published. More than a science fiction book, Dune by Frank Herbert is a religious and political commentary. It has big, mature ideas hidden beneath the captivating epic that it is. Some of the core subjects it deals with include politics, environmentalism, human greed, institutionalized religion, and spiritualism. Over time, readers have been able to find parallels between several real-world religious systems, including Buddhism, Sufi mysticism, Catholicism, Islam, Hinduism, and Judaism. Dune is a phenomenally rich work authored by a prolific author who went on to write numerous further Dune novels, creating an unrivaled science fiction epic narrative. This is the piece of work that altered public attitudes toward science fiction. It is a treasure that defines a genre and has much more to offer than one might imagine. A few of Arthur C. Clarke's early short stories served as inspiration for 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was simultaneously created as a book and a film directed by the legendary director Stanley Kubrick. It depicts the development of space travel, artificial intelligence, and the cultural and physical evolution of mankind. Published in 1973, The Man Who Folded Himself is about a young college student named Daniel Eakins, who finds himself in possession of a time-traveling belt. He then embarks on a journey that he can control with the click of a button, traveling forward and backwards in time as many times as he wants, and thus begins a perplexing unfoldment of events that even he couldn't have imagined. There has been a growing body of evidence over the past few years supporting the notion that reality and science fiction may be more intertwined than we realize. Together, scientists, authors, and decision makers are sensibly addressing this issue. I mean, look around you for once. There's a metal box in your hand right now that can almost do anything you can imagine in just a matter of seconds. If a person of the early 20th century somehow time travels to the present era, to them all this would seem like, well, science fiction. Computers and AI are evolving at such a rapid pace that even the current generation won't be able to distinguish fact from fiction after a few decades. And I think it's already happening as we speak. What we can learn from sci fi literature is to avert and sometimes invent a better future. One must initially hold the belief that change is possible if one wants to alter the world. Science fiction allows people to visualize this transformation viscerally and encourages them to utilize their imaginations to place themselves within the narrative. Some phenomenal sci fi books have been written with remarkable resemblance to a few of the real life events that took place in the last few decades. George Orwell told us way back in 1948 that in the future, nobody will have free will. There will be no such thing as privacy or original thought. Look around you. Don't you think Mr. Orwell almost predicted the future? Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, warned about the repercussions of uncontrolled power in the hands of religious and political leaders through his epic sci fi saga. History speaks for the authenticity of his views. Not only books, but cinema has also utilized the sci fi genre pretty remarkably. For instance, in 2021, Netflix made a film called Don't Look Up, which was based on a real cosmic event of an approaching comet that could have destroyed planet Earth. It is an excellent satirical critique of real life. The only genre, maybe besides fantasy, that imagines how society might be different is science fiction. This is the first step toward advancement since it enables us to envision the future we want and think about how to go in that direction. And it helps us prevent undesirable futures by bringing them to our attention. Today, science fiction has become surprisingly common in the classroom as an abstract genre. It is recognized by Common Core standards as suitable in the language arts curriculum alongside its relative speculative fiction and fantasy literature. So, even though science fiction may seem phantasmagorical, it teaches us how to build a better future or perhaps prevent a dystopian one. If you liked watching this video, consider subscribing to my channel for more such essayist videos. I'm a small creator and I'd highly appreciate your support. Until next time.